All right, something strange might be happening with Sony, and PC players are starting to notice. For the past few years, PlayStation has been pushing hard to bring its biggest games to PC, expanding beyond the console's ecosystem. But now, rumors are starting to circulate that Sony may be pulling back from that strategy, with reports suggesting the company wants to double down on PlayStation exclusives again. If that's true, it could completely change Sony's strategy moving forward. So the big question is Sony abandoning PC ports, or is this just a temporary shift in direction?
I am honored to take.
All right, people. So here's where things get interesting. Sony originally started bringing major titles to PC to expand the audience and drive more revenue. Games like Horizon, Spider-Man, and others prove there's a huge market outside the PlayStation console. But now, insiders and rumors suggest Sony may be reevaluating that approach, potentially slowing down PC releases to reinforce the value of owning a PlayStation console. And if Sony really does prioritizing exclusives again, that could reignite one of the biggest debates in gaming. Should PlayStation games stay exclusive, or should everything come to PC eventually? All right, so the rumor, like I said, Sony may be pulling back on PC ports. For the past few years, Sony pushed games to PC. Like I said, Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon, The Last of Us. The goal was strictly to bring in more revenue and reach new players. New speculation suggests Sony may slow down PC releases to make PlayStation consoles more valuable again. Interesting. I'm still not buying a PlayStation Pro. Some fans think too many PC ports has weakened the PlayStation brand. Others argue PC releases make Sony more money and grow the audience. So what's the fucking problem? So the big debate, should PlayStation games stay exclusive or release everywhere to reach more players, potentially bring in more money, especially after reports that suggest that PlayStation doesn't make a lot of big margins on their exclusives. So honestly, pulling PC ports could be a financial issue that could really bite Sony's in the butt. But I also, like I said in the Xbox Helix video, I think it's very interesting that PlayStation is coming out and saying all this. And then 2 days later, the new CEO of Xbox said their new console is going to play PC games and Xbox games. So I think they're trying to get ahead of that and say, no. We're not going to allow Xbox to potentially, share any revenue with that. Now, we'll give you some revenue by, taking some of your biggest titles like Halo, Gears of War, and whatever else and bring them to our consoles. We don't want our shit even shared in the same ecosystem of anything that you got going on. So, this looks like a big game of big dick energy. Somebody is saying, hey, no, we're not doing that. And I think we all know the financial ecosystem of the gaming right now. Everybody is watching the pocketbook. So I think it's not crazy to think that Sony is looking like, no, we're in no way or form or fashion are we going to put money in Xbox, even though it's not directly to Xbox. But now that Xbox and PC, the realm, the world, there's no barrier between that. So I don't know. I just think PlayStation is trying to have big dick energy right now. I mean, Infamous, what do you think?
There's a lot of angles to this. I'm gonna try to take them one by one. So I do get the approach that Xbox has possibly found a loophole. We're like, yo, we're putting all our shit everywhere, but no one's sharing with us. So now they're like, hey, PlayStation puts their games on PC. We're making a PC. Hey, we ain't gotta allow them to let us have their shit. We're just gonna let it happen. Because when that Xbox ROG Ally X thing come out, there were Xbox fanboys on Twitter, oh, look at this. I'm playing a PlayStation game on my Xbox handset. And it was like, That's angle one. Angle two, the money. I have seen the reports, and counter to what you say, Trice, PlayStation does not make that much money from selling these games on PC. In the 6 years they've been doing this little dance with the devil, I think we reported before, they made 1.6-ish billion. Before you take away Steam's cut, that breaks down to maybe 1.2, 1.3 billion. In 6 years of doing this, that is what they make, I think, in a few months on PlayStation online revenue on itself. In 6 years, you made a quarter or a tenth of what they do in other services, at least corporate speak. I need to make sure I say this so no one thinks, Infamous is shilling, or from a business perspective. money wise. Following up on this angle, I don't believe PlayStation has really had their heart in their PC ports. I really want to say there was really only one port that launched and did well. Majority of them always launched in a weird state, buggy, glitchy, unoptimized, and then they had to come back and really double down, triple down to get it to work. And it's like, what was the point of you buying that studio that is primarily, specifically, just for porting games on PC? And nearly every PlayStation port on PC is bad. I talked about the optimization of PC games a while ago, and it's bad. Now, once again, speaking corporate wise, that's damaging to your brand in a sense. It's like, man, are PlayStation games like this on console to your average PC person who does not indulge in the console space? You know what I'm saying? And you have to look at it as, when PlayStation shows off games, you have the core audience who's down, you have future audience who's like, oh man, that looks cool, I'm looking into that. And then you have a certain audience who are like, man, I can't wait for a year or two for that comes out on PC. This notion and narrative that Sony had in their mind that if we drip feed these games on PC, PC players will go out and buy a PlayStation so they can play it faster and not wait. That's not going to happen. It will never happen. You are not pulling anyone away from their $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 rig to get a PlayStation. It's just not happening. And then I'm going to tackle this from the exclusive angle. Some people may think this is bad, but I'm going to go ahead and say my 2 cents. I am for and always will be for exclusives. I didn't say PlayStation exclusives. I said exclusives, period. Now, I am fortunate to own a PlayStation, a Xbox, a Nintendo, and I have my Steam Deck and gaming laptop. I can indulge on any and all platforms to however I so choose to do it. But gamers, consumers, listeners all around, hear me out when I say this and think real hard. Exclusives is what drives competition and keeps it in check. I'm going to give a great example. When the 360 launched and gave Sony a run for their money, it put their ass under a fire and they got their shit together. And it made Uncharted them to counter Gears of War. Yeah, they never really made a counterpart for Halo, but just hear me out. Exclusives is what drives the console market. And anyone who wants to debate me or say that's horseshit, look at Nintendo. Nintendo is the only platform that is not sharing shit. PlayStation, oh, we're gonna put on PC. Xbox, they launch PC. Nintendo, and man, you buy our shit or you don't play Mario. And no one bats an eye at that. I don't know why this is a thing all of a sudden when PS1, 2, 3, 4, and the beginning of 5 were all exclusive. And I can understand someone's gonna comments, but like, he's corporate shilling, he's a fanboy. No. I'm telling you like it is. Because I bought all the Gears of War and played them. I had an Xbox. I played PlayStation exclusives. There are tons of PC games that don't even come to console. And no one says anything. It's what gets people in on Steam and stay on Steam. I am all for this because you know why? This will help make the other platformers get their shit together and do better. Sony's PlayStation 5 Pro, $700. I bet you if Microsoft was on their game better, that would not have happened. So that's how I'm going to tackle this angle. They want to bring their games back to console, and it's just a single player games. As far as the narrative I've heard from Xbox and PC players, Sony's single player games are one and done, and PC people don't care, and Xbox people make fun of it. So why are you all giving a shit that they pull it back? You weren't interested. That's how I look and see this.
Yes, I do want to make not a counter, but like I just want to give context because you said that PlayStation revenue that they make from porting is not that grand. I also want to just put in context that this generation, don't get me wrong, PlayStation sold a lot of consoles, but they did fuck up this generation too. Not as bad as Xbox, but all that fucking live service games that they had, this has been the least exclusive PlayStation titles that they've had on a console ever. And it's because they had that major
Absolutely.
fuck up from all the live service games. They had they had a lot of fuck ups. So honestly, they might look at that income and say, hey, that's good, because at least kind of it shielded them from all the fuck ups they had to scrap. And let it be known that we have said this quite a lot. PlayStation does not have big dick daddy money like Xbox has from Microsoft. So they cannot afford to fuck up like that. And this has been, don't get me wrong, they sold a lot of consoles. I'm never taking that away from them. This generation has been a fuck up for Sony too on certain levels and money making levels. That is the main issue. They had so many live service games, so many other games they had to scrap, and now they're closing Blue Point and shit like that. So the dollar amount and the money, don't get it ever twisted. They are tightening the fucking ship too. They are looking for shit that is gonna put them in the black and is making the money. If it ain't making money, we ain't doing it. Just because the revenue from the PC ports hasn't been, and like you said, they didn't put their heart in it because they probably didn't want to spend no money. They needed that revenue to cover up their fuck ups from other shit that they did in this generation. So I just want to put a little context on that. And I think, don't get me wrong, PlayStation reputation is a lot better than Xbox, but they have fucked up this generation too. And $750 for a PlayStation Pro, you can suck my dick on that. I'm never getting a Pro, and I probably won't get another PlayStation, honestly. Like, and I just listen. I know PlayStation has been doing exclusive. They've been holding on. No one is gonna be Nintendo because Nintendo is just stubborn. They're never gonna. They have too much pride to ever have they shit on any other platform. They just don't have the pride of Nintendo. Will not allow that. They will rather shut their doors, have Mario, Zelda, Pokemon on any other platform. I really think that's their stance. They rather shut their doors than to ever do that. Sony is in survival mode when they was like, hey, we got to put our shit to the PC. We got to cover up these losses. Like, I just think that was their stance. And now they've sold 90 million consoles. They're in a more better financial position to say, hey, fuck that PC port, because we're going to bring back the value of having a PlayStation as the landscape of gaming and the barrier between gaming consoles and PC. The line is getting more blurred every other fucking week, it seems like. So I think that's just a little context I wanted to add to that. But, I really think PlayStation is just looking at the books just like Xbox. Hey, it's got to make us money going forward. And like I said, they closed Blue Point. Shit is getting crazy.
Absolutely. And then I also want to add, because there was articles I was reading where they were talking about this, and this is another looking at it from the outside in. The long-term view of things. We talked about how PlayStation is delaying, allegedly, the next generation, the PS6. So that means PS5, they need to sell more. They need PlayStation to do better. And the best way to guarantee selling more systems and pushing the brand is to make sure people come to the brand. There are talks that the games on PC and the certain nature of the PC games has damaged the brand to a sense. And if PS5 needs to be around significantly longer due to the RAM apocalypse and all this other stuff, we're not going over this. We've talked about this ad nauseum. So now they're like, okay, and like as you said, tightening the belt. When a first-party game is sold on PlayStation, that is all pure revenue they take to the bank. It's sold on Steam, Steam gets their 30% cut, as does everyone else. Pay tribute in a sense. So I can see how they're probably like, hey, if this generation is going to go on significantly longer and we really got to make this last, we need to bring everyone to us and not anyone else. Like I said, I'm just looking at the optics. I have read many, many articles talking about this, and it is kind of alarming. Then at the same time, like I said, it's nothing new. Exclusives drive sales.
Yeah, but definitely let us know what you think. What is your conspiracy theory about all this and the timing of it and the direction in the future of PlayStation and Sony as a company? Let us know how you feel and what you think in the comments down below.
And that's it for this video of Are You Not Entertained podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell so you'll never miss our next hot take. Until next time, Are You Not Entertained?